We're joined now by our Patriots insider, Jeff Howe from The Athletic Boston. And, Jeff, I'm just going to tee you up. Your number one takeaway, what's the biggest story coming out of this game in your mind?
Well, it's another loss to a divisional leader, and this could be the first time in Bill Belichick's history that the Patriots are going to go 0-3 against the other division winners in the AFC. And yeah, they got screwed by the officials. Yeah, the offense had some problems, but ultimately this is about January and potentially February, and the Patriots are going to have to beat probably multiple teams that they've already lost to in the regular season. So the offensive issues that popped up were really what cost them this game. I know you can point to the officiating, and that's a certainly fair gripe, but this isn't just about Sunday with the Patriots. This is about January. So they're going to have to, we're kind of going on faith that the Patriots are going to turn this thing around, especially looking back to just last season when things looked really, really bad after Week 15. But you're continuing to see some of the same offensive problems pop up. I mean, they were 0 for 10 on third down passing situations against the Chiefs. They didn't have a third down conversion after the first quarter. They were 1 of 3 in the red zone. Could they have used those 4 points that got taken away from the N'Keal Harry touchdown and kicked a game-tying or an overtime forcing field goal? Yeah, no question about it. But what it came down to was yet another red zone situation that the Patriots couldn't score on.
Always a challenge for us to try to get inside the mind of Bill Belichick and how he handles the media and the message he tries to convey after a game. But I got the sense after this one, he wasn't as angry, depressed, distressed as he's been with the previous losses. He seemed very encouraged by the way his team played, and maybe that's because of how they played in the second half, but you got to put all 60 minutes together.
Yeah, I mean, there is something to take from that. And you look at, really, 2014 when they lost to Cincinnati, and I guess, ironically, they were on to Cincinnati then and they're on to Cincinnati now. But that game, Belichick said the way that they fought in that blowout in Kansas City really showed what that team had in terms of a soul. And that carried them later to a Super Bowl victory, a comeback against the Seahawks, multiple comebacks against Baltimore. And you need that. You need that fight. The problem is the Patriots keep getting off to these slow starts and they put themselves in position where they have to make these crazy comebacks. I mean, it was close. They were fingertip away from a late onside kick down in Houston last week. They had their chance to erase a huge deficit in the second half here at Gillette Stadium on Sunday. It just hasn't been able to materialize. But again, the fact that they're fighting and the fact that, the offense, all those issues that I talked about, they were still able to work their way through it, and you saw some improvements on the fly. I know the numbers didn't look good, and obviously they lost, but the fact that they're able to manipulate points in different ways, and the defense continued to fight and really held the Chiefs off the board late in that second half when the offense still wasn't able to find a way to get into the end zone. I mean, again, those are good characteristics of a team that, if you are looking for that January turnaround, at least you know that they have, a good soul and they have the fight to be able to do it.
This is where, to me, it comes down to the fact that we've watched the team play for so long and have seen the track record, and they've earned it and they've proven it over the years. But you got to feel they're going to go 13-3, and it's going to give them a chance to, over these next 3 weeks, get in gear, much like they did last year when really they learned that they could run the game. And maybe over these they could run the ball, and maybe over these next 3 weeks, they'll figure out what it takes offensively to move the ball and be more successful against these other division leaders when they do get to the postseason.
Well, I mean, possibly. It's sort of a double-sided coin with that one. I mean, they're going to destroy Cincinnati next week, I assume. They're probably going to destroy Miami in Week 17, I would assume. Week 16 is going to be a rock fight with Buffalo, yet again. So it's like, look, rewind again to last year. They come off that back-to-back loss, the Miami Miracle, came out flat in Pittsburgh a week later, and then they blew the doors off of 2 bad divisional opponents. So you go into the playoffs and it's like, yeah, they're playing well, but who are the teams they just beat? And how much of that is really going to carry into the playoffs? As we learned, ultimately, all of it did, and that was a huge stepping stone for them. But it's going to be sort of similar here. And again, the sky is falling and all that stuff, but if they do go 3-0 to close out the regular season, they're still going to be the 2 seed. They're still going to have a first-round bye, and they're going to set themselves up to host a divisional round game. So how much are we really going to learn about this team in the next 3 weeks? I mean, that's going to be determined, again, not until January.
All right, Jeff, as always, we appreciate the insight. It's one of those games that's frustrating. A lot of people are going to be talking about the officials, clearly. A lot of people might be debating whether or not going for 1 or going for 2 when it was 23-13 was the right call. But those are things we'll discuss over the next few days. We appreciate your time, as always. You have any thoughts on that? You look like you want to say something.
Yeah, the officiating was terrible. They did not deserve to be left off the hook. I mean, that was atrocious. That was from start to finish. And really, there were some bad calls early in the game against Kansas City. From start to finish against both sides, this was as bad of an officiating performance as I've ever seen. They couldn't get out of their own way. They had to have conferences to have a conference. They had to pick up flags that didn't deserve to be thrown. You had a Jacoby Myers non-touchdown, which was correctly ruled, but you had one official right in front of Myers, right in front of where the ball skipped in front of him, ruled a touchdown. The guy behind him didn't know. They had to have a guy come in from across the field to say, no, that ball skipped. None of these guys could do anything right, and I expect the NFL is going to reward them with Super Bowl 54.
I'm glad I let you go on that one. Thanks as always. That's Jeff Howe from the Athletic Boston. It's good. Yeah, just let it off your chest. Let it off your chest.